Hello, everyone, and welcome to Citizen of the World, the podcast. I am your host, Kathleen Parisien, and this is episode 15. Today, I will be inspiring action outside of your comfort zone by addressing pain. A lot of people live in their own comfort zone because of pain, choosing to identify with the pain instead of choosing to let go and being your full potential and living a life of purpose. A lot of people stick with this pain because it has been painful and has really impacted. And we've all experienced pain in one way or another. But do you let your pain bring you down? Do you live with your pain? Instead, I'm here to tell you to find strength in pain with the tips I will provide in this podcast. Part of being a citizen of the world is taking our life experiences and growing from them. We can use our pain to actually shine our light instead of letting pain bring us down. I'm going to share with you how pain from my childhood with my abusive and mentally ill mother turned me into the woman I am today, confident, resilient, business owner, able to do everything in my wildest dreams, even though I came from pain. I've chosen to talk about finding strength in pain today because my mother has been the biggest source of pain in my life. However, she's also been the most influential in teaching me life lessons because of my mindset of being able to rise from the pain. I've learned a lot from it. So let me explain. From a young age, when I was about 5 years old, my mother told me she was going to kill herself. However, she didn't. So as a child, I was always so confused, like I had just said bye to my mother, and now she's still here. Because of her mental illnesses and her inability to find strength in her own pain, she was often erratic, impulsive, and unpredictable. She wasn't there for me like most moms were for their children. When she would bring me to school, when I was in kindergarten, she would yell at the principal, all the teachers, make a big scene, and really make me embarrassed. From a young age, I was able to see that I didn't want to be like her. I told myself that the key to life, to success in life, was to not be anything like her, to be the exact opposite. I lived my adolescent life in fear of my mother, but thankfully I had my father, and that is why we have such a strong bond, because it's actually my father and my grandmother who raised me the best of their abilities. I went to live with my dad full time when I was about 14, maybe even younger. And before that, I was just bouncing back and forth, always having to pack a bag, always having to leave my mother's house. Sometimes I would just leave by myself when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I'd have to leave by myself and go to a payphone and call my dad to come get me. And so me and my dad, he was also a victim of her abuse. We retreated in peace together. And that really helped me, of course, but still, there was still that pain inside me. But because of my dad and my grandmother, life was able to go on, and I was able to still go to school and be educated and be cared for the way a child needs to. Throughout my life, I have let my mother in and out time and time again. As an adult now, I had to change my phone number because she would be calling me aggressively, leaving me threatening voicemails, a lot of darkness. Each time I am left the victim. Every time she comes into my life and she goes out, I am left the victim. But maybe not anymore. She might be more of the victim now because I have learned to find strength in my pain. Everyone tells me that you can't ignore your mother. She gave you life. She is your mom after all. You need to help her. But when it comes to pain, we as human beings will do what is necessary for self-survival. So whatever you've been through, you cannot let other people who have no idea, and even the people that do have an idea that still try to inject their ideas, only you know what is best to heal your pain so that you can surpass it and rise above the challenge, right? So now that I'm 29 years old, it's been over a year that I've spoken to my mother. So I felt like maybe I should reach out to her. I figured like I'm stronger, I'm all right, I could talk to her. We had one good conversation before everything turned around again. On a peaceful Saturday afternoon, I received voicemails from her again, putting me down, yelling at me, and just being the most ridiculous person. And I'm there trying to be as aware as possible. And I'm asking her, like, why are you doing this? And yet the anger just goes through her for nothing, that I didn't do anything. And at this point, I know that I can't help her because when it comes to mental health, you need to help yourself. That is what I've learned. And so, my friends, let me share with you the key guiding principles of how I've lived my life, how I took pain and turned it into strength. Number one is be conscious of the pain. As a young child, I was always aware of right and wrong. When my mother would cause a scene over nothing, she always thought people were talking about her, always just identifying so much with her mind that I knew I wasn't the problem, but it was her mind that was. And as a 5-year-old child, I was present enough to know that something was wrong. Whatever is causing you pain, try to look at it objectively. My own presence helped me become the person I am today because I was able to separate myself from her and the pain. Try to separate yourself from pain and acknowledge that pain is temporary. This goes into number two a little bit, is that you can choose to be a victim or a survivor. That is a choice we make every day. You can choose to be happy or you can choose to be sad. We all have choices in this world. We all have voices inside our heads. And as I learned from Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, the people who can't control the voices in their head, who identify too closely with such thoughts, ends up with psychosis. We cannot control we can control how we react to situations, and we can choose to be happy or sad. You can take your pain and choose to keep it in you, or you can choose to set it free. Whenever pain comes in to you, or whatever pain you're holding inside you, let it go. Recognize the pain and fight hard to overcome it. We can design our own futures. We can choose to be stuck in a victim mentality and let the pain influence our life. We could choose to be sad, but I said to myself that I could do better. Instead of choosing to just be sad and that my mother didn't love me and I was missing this component as a child, I didn't want myself to succumb to that. Instead, I wanted to be stronger. So don't identify with being a victim. Take all the other qualities that you have and go with those instead of letting the pain be your identity. However, what good would it be to bring if you let that pain seep into you? Rise above the pain. So, number three is learn from the pain. How can you avoid doing things differently next time? I know time and time again that every single time I reach out to my mother, it never goes well. So, why do I keep doing it? Right? Is there something that you could change in your own life to eliminate pain? Are you running after that pain because that's all that you've ever known? Know that there is a whole other world out there where you don't have to live in pain. I was really hard on myself to form a different reality from a young age. The pain created me into the person I am today, as from being a young girl, I lived with pain and instability. That pain turned into resilience and not being afraid of challenges as an adult. That is why I'm an entrepreneur. That is why it's interesting that I found so much strength in pain that I can not hate my mother, but kind of be grateful because I was conscious and strong enough to rise from that pain to be who I am today. I know that the hard path is the path that will teach you something, right? So, since a young age, I forced myself to be better. I worked hard in elementary school and high school to get into university. I always just thought if I could just go to university, I will be better than her because she didn't graduate from high school. So I did 6 years of university. And then at the age of 25, I left Canada. I was eager to define myself away from my home base. So I went backpacking in South America, and I was able to survive backpacking South America because it kind of reminded me as when I was a child, always packing my bags, having to leave. So I kind of learned this from a young age to be resilient, to kind of keep going. And then I went to pursue my master's degree in Israel. Moving away and living new experiences opened my mind to so much more. I took time for self discovery so that I could be free away from this pain. So you don't have to travel the world to let go of your pain. There's small things that you can do. Just by listening to this podcast, you're giving yourself a favor to unlock the pain that is in you. So I didn't neglect the pain. In fact, like when I was in South America and the Middle East, I had to come full face with that pain to see like, and that's kind of where I realized that I was built from this pain and that I was stronger because of it. But in my case, my constant need to excel and be better caused me to have some type of anxiety. Anxiety to always be doing, creating, and performing. Now, I use exercise, meditation, yoga, and spending time in nature with my dog Benny to relax. Now I'm 29 years old and have a family of my own. I can't always be in sixth gear. I can't always be running from this pain or trying to create a better version of myself so that I will not be like her. So I've learned to slow down and nourish my inner child. My inner child now finally gets to be free. As when I was younger, I was kind of the adult, the responsible one, because I had to be when I was with her. So now that I'm older, I've learned to let my inner child be playful and creative, which is why I've written a book and have this awesome podcast that you're listening to. I've learned to let my inner child flourish thanks to Julia Cameron's exercise book, An Artist's Way. The book encourages journaling and spending time with your inner child to love them. You can love yourself the way others didn't, and that's why self-love and self-care is so important. As just because you were missing something in your adolescence, it's not an excuse to not rise to the challenges and be the best person that you are in your adulthood. So Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, I wouldn't recommend it. I love this book. It's it's what got me to really put myself out there, to let go of the fear and publish my book, because I had a story to tell from everything that I went through, and it's because of my mother, or it's because of how I reacted to the situation, right? Again, we can always decide how we act. So, whatever pain you are living with, I really urge you to let it go. Let go of what doesn't serve you. Take the pain and rise above it. Do the necessary work so that you can unlock yourself from this pain. One good way is Julia Cameron's An Artist's Way, that really goes deep into yourself and gives yourself time for love and compassion that maybe you haven't been giving yourself. That's what will create a better future for yourself and for the entire planet. My mother didn't have an easy life. Her mother died when she was 9 years old. But is that a reason to continue to create pain in her own life and for those around her? Deal with your pain and it will take over your life. Darkness is darkness and can really stop the light from shining through. You need to fight to find that light. Once you find it, never let it go. Don't let your emotions rule you. You are not your emotions. With effort, you can learn to deal with your emotions instead of letting them take over you. When a bad emotion comes in, ask yourself, who is really getting upset? Try to be the watcher of your emotions so you don't fall victim to your own emotions. As it is Easter, I want to wish everyone a happy Easter. Jesus found strength in his pain and he died for all of us. So I want to read you a quote from Revelation 21:4. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. To me, this biblical scripture summarizes it all. Everything is temporary, and whatever hurt you can no longer hurt you if you decide to let it go. The future is in your hands. If pain has stopped you from living your best life, spend some time with Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, or read A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. A new perspective might just be what you need to bring light into your life. The more light instead of darkness you have, the more you can shine your light and impact others positively. As always, Citizen of the World, the podcast inspires action outside our comfort zones. Living with pain might actually be someone's comfort zone. Break free from that pain to see the whole world of opportunities that lay ahead of you. If you like this podcast, please share with your friends and family. You never know how a podcast can change someone's life. We all need a breath of fresh air, a new perspective, and this podcast can help others shine their light bright. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful Easter weekend, and I look forward to touching base next week with you.